So, can we start?
Yes,
Yeah.
Vivek. Yes, Vivek.
Okay. So hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this session on objective technical analysis and the CMT program. So, just to give you a brief, my name is Vivek Gadodia. I am co-founder at Dravyaniti Consulting and handle the DNC portfolio, which is basically a suite of non-correlated strategies. Um, about the session today and the speaker. Uh, the session is about, we've actually learned a lot about TA. Many of us may have read. And technical analysis has a lot of gyan, right? I mean, like anything, it can have a lot of gyan. But when you are either using it as a researcher, analyst somewhere where, you're getting paid to do analysis, right? That is one. But I believe most of us now, and even in those jobs traditionally where you were paid to analysis, it's no more like boss ki ye mere ko lagta hai, right? And you get paid. It's like ये जो आप सोच रहे हो, whatever you are applying, does it actually work, right? Does it make money? What money it makes? Whether it makes, it loses, and things like that, right? So people want objective answers. Okay, and that is why there is a whole new branch on or focus in area of objective technical analysis, where you can create those rules which can be programmed and told to a computer. Like subjective may be different than what you and I'll feel. Objective is very objective. Okay, and the CMT program is obviously, so the chartered market technician is the highest program in technical analysis in the world. A lot more will be told later by the other presenter today. So let me introduce the first presenter. That's Sovit Manjani, CMT. He is also a co-founder at Dravinti, and he leads the education and the Algo Convention initiatives. And Sovit has trained over more than, I don't know how many, 80 plus people at least, and I think holds the record as far as I know in terms of getting the maximum CMTs cleared, right? So like many people in the community are actually, uh, have studied with him, learned with him, discussed with him, and they are now spreading that knowledge everywhere. So some extremely amazing work done by him, and he's a practitioner of systematic trading. He follows and applies trading systems in his own account as well as for the firm. His expertise lies in building long only delivery based trading systems and strategies. And he's going to take the whole next hour, I think, till 7 p.m., 7:10 p.m. And then Joel will come in and talk about the CMT. So, Sovit, all over to you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Vivek, for the wonderful introduction. Okay, so Joel will join us in some time. Okay, and till then, we'll do the presentation part. Okay, so I hope you all can see the screen. Okay, so I think Vivek has already told about us, so I'll not go much into this. Yes, and we are directly start with the presentation. Okay. So today we'll be learning a little bit about uh, objective technical analysis. We all know about technical analysis, right? But mostly technical analysis is divided into two parts: objective technical analysis and subjective technical analysis. So today we'll be talking about only objective technical analysis. Within this we'll see what is scientific method of technical analysis, then why we use scientific
Join
method,
the meeting.
and what are the tools which we can use to identify trends, because trends are the most important part in technical analysis, right? So we'll be learning those tools, and then we'll go in one of the important tools of identifying trends, which is moving averages. And we will see an example of an evidence-based technical analysis, how we can uh, formulate a system to make money in the market. Okay, and then we'll go to the Chartered Market Technician program and about the CMT Association. That part Joel will take care. Okay. So, what is scientific and technical analysis? We all know about technical analysis. At least we have heard about technical analysis, right? But this part of technical analysis is rule based. It is clearly defined. All the methods and rules are clearly defined. So, suppose if we take a moving average, okay, so if the moving average is, say, 50-day moving average is above the 200-day moving average, so it's a clearly defined rule. It will not be different for me, it will not be different for Vivek, it will not be different for anybody else, right? If the stock is crossing its to a 50-day moving average, is crossing the 200-day moving average, it is universal for all. It is not, there's no ambiguity in this, right? Whereas there can be other forms of technical analysis. Um, I'll not like to name them, but there can be like one technical analyst may say that based on this analysis or this theory, this is a buy, this is a sell, or this is bullish, this is bearish, right? The two technical analysis can give you different views, but here when we use scientific technical analysis, there won't be different views. There will be only one view by all the analysts. Another advantage of scientific method is that it is applied on the market data, like price, volume, open interest, breadth. So it can be applied on the data, and we can see the results. Okay, when we apply these to the data, we can see the results of the what has happened in the past. Okay, and these signals are unambiguous. So
Left the
this,
meeting.
as I said, there's no ambiguity. If a moving average crossover has happened, it has happened for everybody. It is not that it has happened for me, it has not happened for XYZ. Again, another advantage of this is that it is possible to stimulate this method. Okay, so we can go into the previous data and see how it would have say suppose I'd say 50-day moving average going above the 200-day moving average. If I would have bought the stock, okay, what would have happened? If I would have done it for, say, in the last 20 years and on 10 stocks, what would have been the results? How much money would have I made, or how much money would I have lose? So that can be found out, and we can assume that this thing can happen in future as well. There's an assumption here that whatever has worked in the past will work in the future as well. And this we also get precise levels of performance. So if we know that say this rule has given us a 25% return in the last 20 years of data, then we can assume that in the future also we can get near to this return. So it will not be always exactly the same. Okay, you should not expect exactly the same results, but close to that you can expect. And this is a repeatable process. We can always repeat this n number of times, and on it will work on multiple securities also. So it's not only repeatable on different time frames, it is also repeatable on different securities. Even it will work on different asset classes like commodities, equities, bonds. So it will work in multiple asset classes as well. And one more beautiful thing about scientific technical analysis is that it is refutable and it is falsifiable. That is, if on the statistical evidence it shows that this type of a method has not made money in the past, so we can know that this method doesn't work. And that is a very important thing, because we have limited capital. We cannot keep experimenting actual money into the market, right? So we can experiment with on the data, and those methods which we think may have evidence of making profits, when we backtest it and see, and we can find that it doesn't work. So our money can be protected without putting that money onto that particular logic. So this is, I think, one of the biggest advantage of scientific technical analysis. And we can find out about objective methods are effective and which are not. So again, the same thing that which methods work, which methods don't work, we'll have some idea about it, and we can evaluate the feasibility. Again, if suppose the method works, okay, it makes money, but what if it gives a return of say 100%, but the drawdown is 70%? Now it is not feasible, right? So it works fine, but whether I can put my money onto that, I cannot put my money because the risk is very, very high, right? Again, another example of feasibility will be that the system works, it generates extra returns, but the returns are only 7%. Okay, the risk is say 10% and the returns are 7%. So again, this is not feasible because any which ways we'll get that much return from any risk-free asset as well, like a fixed deposit or a debt instrument, right? So we also can evaluate the feasibility of that method and then put money onto it with and not putting money just by that we think that this method should work and this method should not work. And why we use systematic method? It provides mathematical edge as determined by testing. So we can know that whether there is a particular edge in the system or in the model, and we can know that by testing it, by doing a back test. Another advantage is that it reduces trade level emotions, develops confidence, and produces less stress. So when we don't say that it reduces emotion. We say that it reduces trade level emotion because your emotion will still be there. Because if the system is in a drawdown, if it is losing money, you will have emotions. You will there will be part where times where you will see that maybe I should stop the system or maybe I should reduce the size of the system, or there will be times when we will say that I should increase the size of the system if it is doing extremely well. Okay. So, but these decisions are not taken on trade level. When we are doing a discretionary trading, all these decisions, whether we have to buy, whether we have to sell, whether we have to hold, we are taking the decision on trade level. So that is a humongous task. It becomes very, very difficult to maintain emotion in each and every trade. But the trades are being generated by the system, and we have to just have emotions related to the system, not to the level of the trade. So that's a very big advantage of having a systematic approach. And when we have a backtest, say suppose we have a system which has a 25% return with a 25% risk. So we have a confidence that okay, right now if it is losing 20% or 20 or 15%, we know that the max downside is say another 10% or another 5%, right? So we can still continue with the system. But when we are doing discretionary trading, we don't know how much is the downside. Whether we are right or whether our approach is right, we have no idea about that. At least in the backtest, if it shows that 25% is the max drawdown, we can expect, okay, it can go to 30% or 35%, but will not go to 70%, will not wait up to 70%, right? But in discretionary, we don't have any idea how bad the situation can be. And because we have confidence, because we have the past results, okay, we have lesser stress. So we can sleep well in the nights because we know that the system has this much drawdown. It has generated in this much return in the past. So we know something about the model. Okay, it's not that we are just playing a gamble which we where we have no data to support our trade. Again, it reduces other trading pitfalls also like over trading. So when we are not doing very well, we tend to overtrade when we are doing discretionary trading. Okay, many a times we may our signal may not have been come an exit signal may not have come, but we would exit the system, right? And sometimes if the system has given a exit, we do not take action, we do not exit, okay, thinking that okay, it will come up again because we're in a loss. We tend to have that emotion that why to exit in a loss, let's wait little more time for it to come back, for the stock to come back. So we may get freeze if suddenly the stock falls by 20%. Okay, we may not take any decision, right? We may not take any action, but at that is the time when the system will take action. Okay, constant decision making. So we do not have to take constant decision making, right? Trade level decisions are not to be taken. Only decisions have to be taken on the system basis, like whether we have to deploy the system, we have to stop the system, okay, or we have to make some changes in the system. Those decisions will still be taken, okay. But constant decision making is not required. We don't need to take decisions every minute or every day or every hour. We don't need to do that. Even we don't take decisions for maybe 1 year as well. It provides certainty, and because of certainty, anxiety reduces. Okay, so when there's certainty, when you know that this is the past result of the system, you have, it's not exactly certain. It will never be 100% that it will always follow that result, but at least we have some idea about it. So because we have some idea of that what can be the worst situation, okay, the anxiety reduces. Okay, anxiety comes from uncertainty, and here we have some certainty, right? And we can structure how to react to the possible outcome. So once we know that this is the worst case scenario, okay, so we know how should we react at that point. So if the worst case happens, okay, if the maximum downtime is say 25% and the system has gone to 35%, then we know that we have to stop the system. Okay, and we have to review the system. We may have to go back to the drawing board and maybe reconsider the system. But we have some concrete output on the basis of which we can take a decision, right? Technical analysis, we can also say technical analysis as trend analysis, because the biggest part of technical analysis is actually identifying the trend. Okay. Most of the technical analysis are successful because they are good at identifying trends. Although there are other methods of in technical analysis, like mean reversion is also there. There are many other techniques in technical analysis which are there, which may not have trends. But the biggest profitable factor in technical analysis, when most of the technical analysis make money, is in trends. Trends is the most essential element of the technical analysis. Okay. Trends tend to continue rather than reverse. So one important thing about the trends, and this many technical analysis actually who fail to do good in technical analysis, is this, that they forget this, that trends tend to continue. So they will most of the technical analysis will be like trying to identify the top, this, and now the stock will reverse, now the stock will reverse, now the stock will reverse. Understand that trends do not reverse easily. It takes years to reverse. Okay, and when it reverses, it will again take years to reverse again. So if the trend is up, it may continue for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years also. Like see the chart of Asian Paints, see the charts of Pidilite. Okay, they do not reverse. The trends continue and they keep continuing up. Okay, oh, and once they reverse, see the chart of Yes Bank, see the chart of DHFL. When they reverse, they fall continuously, and if you see they have still not recovered. Trends that is one of the most important part in technical analysis, which most people forget. Trend traders enter in the middle of the trend and not at the lows or exit at the top. So most of the trend traders which are successful, they will not try to enter at the bottom and exit at the top. They will not tend to do that. They will go the middle way. Okay, they will enter in the middle of the trend and then exit in the middle of the trend. So they will, once the stock has started to move up, they will let it move up, show some strength, let the stock see some strength, and then enter the stock. And they will exit when the trend turns. Okay, so they will not exit at the top. They will let top happen and then exit. Okay, so as Gautam Buddha says, you have to follow the middle path. So you have to be in the middle. So we as trend followers try to capture the middle part. Now we understand that the trends are the most important part in technical analysis. Now, what are the tools how we can identify the trends? So these are few tools which I have marked down, There are many other tools. It's not that these are the only tools. Moving averages, linear regression, moving average convergence, divergence, that is MCD or RSI. These all tools can be used to identify trends. But today our focus will be only on moving averages. Okay, we can talk on each of these each of these tools separately in they have different webinars. But today we'll focus only on moving averages, and moving averages are the simplest tool and the most ancient tool, you can say. It was the trend technical analysis actually I can say that started with moving averages, or say candlesticks and then maybe moving averages, or bar charts and then moving averages. The moving averages are so ancient, it is like at least 150 years old, okay, or maybe more than that also. We do not have an exact record of who was the first person who started using moving averages. Okay, Vishwanath has a question. Can you see, please show some demo of how the system works? We'll show you the demo, Vishwanath, as the time comes in. We'll show you that as well. Just wait for a few minutes. We'll come to the system as well. Okay. Now, moving averages, when we go into the moving averages, what they do, they are the summary of the data. So if we talk about a 50-day moving average, so we get one value for 50 days. Like we calculate the say the closing price of 50 days and divided by add all of those closing prices and divide by 50. So we get one single value for these 50 days. So what it does is that it reduces the data. It gives us summary of the data. So now 50 data points are reduced to one data point. Okay. Another important aspect of moving average is that it reduces fluctuations. So we know that the price has a tendency to be very erratic. One day it may be down, another day it may be up, another day it can be down, another day it can be up. A trend is very erratic. But when we take a moving average, okay, it reduces these fluctuations of the price. So, and it smoothens the price, smoothens the data, whatever data we are applying moving average onto. Okay, it will smoothen that data. One one element of characteristic of moving average that it introduces a lag, because it's technical. The moving average is one data point of 50 data points or 20 data points, whatever it is. It will have a lag, because it needs 50 data points to come to that one data point, right? So it will have a lag. Generally the lag is half the length of the moving average. Okay, but that all we leave it for the CMT curriculum. Yeah. And the most important part is that moving average shows the trends. Yeah, you can see the trends very easily by seeing the moving average. Okay. The various types of moving averages: simple moving average, exponential moving average, weighted average moving average, uh, display moving average, volume weighted moving average, volatility weighted moving average, triangular moving average, and there are other types of moving averages also. So today we'll concentrate only on one type of moving average, which is the exponential moving average, right? We'll not go to others. That all part we leave it for the CMT's curriculum. That much more detailed things are there in CMT curriculum. Okay. So what we'll do is that we'll take the expression moving average and we'll try to make a model out of it. Okay. So before we make a model, we have to have some objective of the model. Okay. If it cannot be that the model can be made without an objective, because you need to know where you'll stop. After you have made the model, at some point you have to stop. Putting rules to the strategy. There have to be some point where you'll stop putting any rules to the strategy. Okay. Though the basic objective of the strategy is that the system should beat the benchmark returns by a substantial margin. The benchmark in our case will be Nifty, or we can also take CNX 500. because whatever data we are using, we will be actually using on a around a 500 stock universe. So we can also use CNX 500 for that purpose. But here we are taking Nifty. Okay, it should have lower risk than the Nifty, which is the benchmark, right? So again, the return should be higher than the benchmark, and the risk again should be lower than the benchmark. Then only it will make sense. Otherwise, we can directly put money onto Nifty ETF. Then why should we do all these things, right? There's no sense of doing it if it cannot beat the Nifty returns. Okay, it should make an idle cash. It should make our idle cash work. So we all have our own sources of income. Now, we don't want to make this as our profession, but it is for us to make additional income from our money, which we already have, maybe from salary or from other sources of income, maybe business. Okay. So we have some income, we want to make that money work. Okay. It should not interfere with our daily job or profession. So again, we don't want to leave our daily job. We don't want to leave our daily profession, whatever we are in. Okay, it should make money. Other than that, it should be easy and workable for any layman. So it can be usable for any person. The person should not have too much knowledge. It doesn't needs to be it needs to be very complicated system. Otherwise, layman may not be able to work onto it. Yeah. It should have minimum entry rules and exit rules. So we try to have as little rules as possible, say around 5, 6 rules, not more than that. Okay. And then it should have zero risk of win. Because risk is basically the risk of your capital going down to zero. Okay. We cannot take that chance, right? We don't want our capital, say if we start by 10 lakh rupees, we don't want the 10 lakhs rupees to become 90 say 1 lakh rupee, right? So that risk of ruin, that is called the risk of ruin. More details of how to calculate risk of ruin, everything will be there in the curriculum, but our risk of ruin should be near to zero. Okay, because we don't want to lose entire capital, right? So let's come. Girish says moving average are considered to lagging indicators, right? Yes, Girish, they are considered to be lagging indicator, but I would say that this lag is good. Like the advertisement दाग अच्छे हैं, I would say lag अच्छा है. Okay, because if there's no lag, okay, you will not get the trend. Okay? You'll know the trend only after it has already happened. Right, you cannot get it in advance. It's something which is not predictable that there will be a strong trend. So lag is required for the trend to establish, and we enter only when the trend is established. We do not enter before that. Okay, so I consider that lag is good for our trading purpose. Ultimate purpose is to make money, not to be with the market. Okay, being with the market is not important. Making money is important, right? Moving average crossover happens. So we have these few rules on the hypothesis on the moving average hypothesis. So first is that the long-term trend, we have to identify the long-term trend. For that purpose, we take the medium-term trend and a long-term medium-term moving average and the long-term moving average. So in this case, what we are doing is that we are taking a medium-term length of 125 days, okay, and a longer-term trend we identify by the 100-day moving average, okay, sorry, 200-day moving average. So we take the EMA of the lows of 125 period. So we take the moving average of 125 period of the lows. So moving average can be plotted on of close, it can be plotted of high, it can be plotted of lows as well. So we take the moving average, exponential moving average of the lows. So what is exponential moving average, that you can Google out, okay, or it's there part of the CMT curriculum if you are interested. Okay, you can read much about it later on. Okay, but it's a very simple tool. Okay, so we take exponential moving average of the lows of 125 period, and that should be greater than the moving 200-day moving average of the highs. Okay, so 200 days is the longer term period, and 125. So 125, why do we take 125? Because 125 around 6 months. If you take working days, it's around 6 months, and 200 days is around say 10 months, right? So we take around 6 months and 10 months. 200 days is very famous, right? And most technical analysis actually use 200-day moving average. But here we're not taking up the closing prices, mind you. We are taking the moving average of the highs. Okay, and why we are taking the lows and the highs? Because there are a lot of whipsaws when we take the closing moving averages. Okay, so this by taking the lows, so low will be lower than the EMA of lows will be lower than the EMA of the close, and the EMA of the highs will be higher than the EMA of the close, right? So a lot of whipsaws will be removed if we take the lows, the EMA of the lows and the EMA of the highs. Okay, so our purpose is to reduce the whipsaws because in trend trading there are a lot of whipsaws. Okay, so we have to avoid those whipsaws. So because of that, we take the lows and the highs. Okay, so that will make smoother curves for the equity. For short-term trend identification, we use the shorter-term moving average, which should be above the intermediate moving average. Okay. So again, we take two more moving averages. That is the 65-day moving average of the closes, and this we take the same 125 days of the lows, 125 period moving average of the lows. So again, basically, what we are doing is that the 65 should be higher than the 125, and 125 should be higher than the 200-day moving average. Okay, and we take the fourth moving average, which is the EMA of the lows of 5 period, and this should be again greater than the EMA of 65 days. Okay, of the closes. Okay, and then the fourth rule is finally that the current price, the closing price, should be above the 5 period moving average of the lows. Okay, so there are four rules. So basically, they should all be in sync. So the price should be at the top, then the EMA of 5 period of lows, then the EMA of 65 period of closes, then the EMA of 125 days of the lows, and the EMA of 200-day of highs. Okay, is it clear, everybody? I'll show you. One second, I'll show you the chart here. Okay, so this blue line is the EMA of, say, this candlestick is the price, right? The candlestick is the closing price. Okay, this blue line is the 5 period moving average of the lows. Okay, this gray line is the 65-day moving average of the close. This green line is the 125 days moving average of the lows, and this dashed line, the red line, is the 200-day moving average of the highs. Okay, so all these four moving averages should be in sync with each other. Okay, this is our first part of moving averages. Okay, is everybody clear at this point? Any questions till now? Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, now we go to the second part. Now, EMA has one, what we can say, drawback. Okay, that drawback is that it works very well when there are trends, but when there's a sideways movement, it may not work very well. So we have to identify a sideways movement. And what our purpose is not to enter a trend when it is very, very strong. We want to enter when the trend starts to go sideways. When the trend goes sideways after a strong trend, there will be a sideways movement. Okay, then again it will move up. So generally it goes up, sideways, then again go up. So we do not enter in the first leg. Okay, we are not interested in the first leg. We are interested to enter the stock in the sideways consolidation to capture the next move up. Right. So that is our purpose. Okay. So what we do for that purpose, we want to identify a dull market. Okay, a market which is sideways. Okay, then we enter. We don't enter when the crossover happens. Okay, the crossover happens, we wait. Okay, when the market goes sideways, then we enter. Okay, so entry should be in the consolidation when the primary trend is up. So primary trend should be up. So all those moving averages should be in sync with each other. So the primary trend is up, and we see the ADX. ADX is the average directional index. Yeah, again, you can Google it out. I'm not going into the details of ADX because we do not have that much time. Okay, so the ATX of 20 period. So we take 20 period, basically 20 period is around 1 month. Okay, so that a 20 period ADX should be less than 20. Generally, people use ADX above 25, right? But we want to identify a dull market, a market which is in consolidation, right? So for that, we want market to be low. Okay, so I'll just show you here. Okay, this is the ADX, and here you can see it is below 20. This green line is the 20 mark, right? So I'm not interested when the market is rising. Okay, I'm interested when the market is sideways or dull. Here also you can see the volume is also very, very low. So I'm interested in this market. I don't want to enter in the breakout. Okay, breakout trading is something different. We are not doing here breakout trading. Here we are entering in a sideways market. Okay, to capture the next big trend. Okay, so we check whether the ADX is below 20 or not. Okay, if it is below 20, then only we take the trade. Otherwise, we don't take the trade. And the ADX should be above, it should be rising. It should be moving up. So the ADX line, if we see, okay, this here it is declining. So we are not interested in this. When it is rising, okay, we are interested only at that point because the ADX, again, it tells us the direction of the strength of the trend, right? So it should be rising. It should be dull, but it should not be declining. It should be rising. Okay. And the volume of 20 period, the current volume, the current bar volume should be above the 20-day, should be below the 20-day moving average of the volume, right? So this is a simple moving average. This is not an exponential moving average. For volume, we don't use exponential moving average. We use a simple moving average. So because we are identifying a dull market, we want to enter when nobody is interested in that stock. So there's no very low volume. There's ADX is low, so nobody is looking into that stock. But it has previously it has given a big up move. Okay, so basically these are the time when the professionals enter. Okay, they will not enter at 20% circuit levels. Okay, they will enter much lower. They will enter at when the markets are silent, when the markets are consolidating. Okay, so if we see here. Okay, here if you see the volume is low, it is below its moving average. Okay, another example, if you see here, the entry has come here, the volume is below the average. See, this orange line is the 20 period moving average. So the volume should be less than the average. The ADX should be low, the volume should be low, and that is where we enter. Okay, we do not enter in the breakout. We do not enter in a fast moving market. We enter in a slow moving market. Okay. So these all 7 rules are there for the entry. Okay, these 7 rules are there for entry. If all these 7 rules are fulfilled, then we take a trade. Okay. Priyam is saying which moving average works better. Say there's no right or wrong answer to this, PM. But what I would say is generally what I prefer to do is I take trading days. Okay, select 20 day, 65 days. So 20 days represents 1 month, 65 days represents 1 quarter. Say say 250 days represents 1 year. So I try to take these moving averages. Okay, and this is what I prefer to use. Okay, then any like based on moving average based on Fibonacci and all those things. I do not believe much in that. I believe in cyclicality. Okay, and I prefer to use these moving averages. Okay. This is saying, sir, we will receive the presentation to further note. I can share this presentation. No issues. I'll share this presentation. Okay. So up to here, everybody is clear. Okay. Now, if we enter, we have to exit as well, right? So exit rule is simple. There's only one exit rule. Exit when the short-term moving average is less than the intermediate moving average. That is the EMA of close of 5 period is less than the EMA of close of 65 period, which we have used here, right? Which we have used here, right? EMA of close of 5 period should be greater than the EMA of close of 65 periods. This rule, if it reverses, we exit. As simple as that. Okay. If you go to the chart, okay, here we see this blue line has gone below the gray line. Here we have got an exit, right? It again went above this, and other conditions have also fulfilled. The ADX is below 20. The volume is lower than the average volume. We are going to enter. Okay, so there will be times when we will exit and there will be a re-entry. That is fine. Okay. Questions we can keep it little later. Let me explain the entire thing, and then Joel has also to take a part. So you can ask questions after this session. Okay, so we'll give enough time to you to ask questions. Don't worry. Okay, let's first understand the logic here. Okay, so the hypothesis, everything is done here. Now, these are some charts. This is NCC. This is um, of 2004. Okay, the entry came at around maybe 10 rupees. The exit was around 68. Again, 76, another entry came 100 and at 100 rupees, the exit came. This is another example, La Opala, entry came at around 34, exit came at around 182. Again, there was another entry and exit here. This was a small, maybe loss or a small profit. It looks to be a small loss. Okay. Okay. In most trend following, you will see that your profits will be bigger and your losses will be smaller. That is the basic characteristic of trend following. The losses will be more in number, so the win rate will be lesser, but the profits will be bigger to compensate that. This is the chart of Jindal Steel and Power. Entry comes around at 80 rupees and exit around 340, 374. Again, there's an entry here 383 and exit around 360 or something. Okay, again another entry came, another exit came. So here you got small losses. Okay, but the major move was captured here, right? Okay. Again, this is Bharat Forge. Entry came at around 18 rupees. Exit came at around 75. This is 2003 and 2004. Again, there's an entry here with a small loss. You entered at 80 rupees, exited at 76 rupees. Again, there's an entry here. Okay, this is a losing trade. We cannot just show you all the everything is rosy. They are losing trades also in the system. It's not that it is out of it will not have losses. Okay, this is Mastech. They are 2004, 2003. Entry came at around 100 rupees or somewhere. Exit came, sorry, entry came at around 95. Exit came at around 46. So this was a sudden fall. So we had a loss here. I'm showing you the worst losses. Okay. This is the tobacco infrastructure. Entry came at around 171, exit came at around 66. Okay, so this is some of the worst losses which we have seen in this model. Okay, we'll show you more recent examples also. Don't worry, but that will be a little later. Okay. Duchess says this is a position system. Yes, it is a position system. Okay. Yeah, it has to be checked on daily chart. Yes. Yeah. Other than this, this is just the entry and the exit, which most people give more importance. But the most important part is this, okay, which is we have to see the liquidity of the stock, okay, in which we are trading. So we calculate for analyze because we can take trades only in a liquid market. If the market is not liquid, if there's an exit, you will not get an exit. If you want to buy a like a bigger quantity, you will not be able to buy big quantity. So liquidity is very, very important. Okay. So to check for the liquidity, we calculate the value. Value is nothing but the price multiplied by the volume. So that gives us the say today's price is say 100 rupees and the volume was say 1 lakh shares. So 100 multiplied by 1 lakh will be the value for that particular day, right? And then we take a 150-day moving average of that value. Okay, and we rank all the stocks of NSE. Say there are around 2,000 stocks in NSE. Okay, so we rank all of them based on this value. So maybe Reliance will have the highest value, then SBI, and then those things. Okay. So we take the top 500 stocks out of this. Okay. We will take top 500 stocks out of this. So this is one way of backtesting it. But if you're not comfortable with doing this, another substitute for easy substitute for this is that you take directly CNX 500 universe. Why I have not taken CNX 500 universe? Because CNX 500 universe, which I take, which is present right now, is the current stocks. Okay, when I'm backtesting, say 20 years back, these stocks would not have, some of the stock would not have been there in 20 years back, and there would be some other stocks which are not there now. They are delisted. They have gone defunct, right? So for backtesting purpose, I have to take this. Okay, but in real life trading, you can take CNX 500 as a substitute for this rule. Okay, so just trade on the CNX 500 universe. Okay. Then another important point in any system is the position size of the system. How much value stock will you buy when the signal which comes in, how much you will buy. So in generally in 10-point systems with a definite stop loss, win percentage is generally less than 50%. So you'll get 30, 35, 40% win rate generally. Max you can get around 45%, which I have seen in most cases. Okay, but the average size of winners is substantially larger than the average size of losers. Okay, so this lower win percentage is compensated by the bigger size of the winners. So the winners will be say 3 times the loser. Okay, so the win risk reward ratio becomes like, if we make one good trade, we may say we'll make 30%. If we lose, we on an average lose 10%. Okay, so generally the size of the winner is bigger than the size of the loser. Hence, size of losers are not a concern. So because of this, since the size of the loser is small, okay, it's not a problem. Okay, so we don't worry much about the size of the loser, because that is taken care by the characteristics of trend following methods. Okay, what can increase the risk of win is the series of losses, which can be as high as 45 to 50 in a row and beyond our control. So the bigger problem in trend following systems is that the consecutive losses can be very high. So it can, at times I've seen 40, 50 continuous losing trades also, which can be beyond our control. So because of that, we cannot control that. So because of that, what we do is that we reduce the size of the trade. To keep our maximum dollar under check, we should keep our size as per trade as small as possible. So per trade should be as small as possible. So even if it's a 20, 30, 40 consecutive losers, it will not take substantial part of our capital, as we keep our size per trade as 2% of our capital. So say suppose we are putting 10 lakh rupees. Okay, so our trade on each stock will be only 20,000 rupees. So we take 50 stocks in our portfolio, like Nifty has 50 stocks, right? So we give only 2% weight to each stock, and we give equal weightage to each stock, because we don't know which stock will be 10x and which stock will be say 0, right? So we take equal weightage to all the stocks. This will definitely be boring, as even when we make 100% profit in a trade, it will be just 2% of the capital. But this will ensure that you stay on the wicket to play the next ball. Okay. So this can become very boring at times, because even if your stock doubles, okay, you will make only 2% of your portfolio, right? But you will be there on the wicket, and your capital will not be eroded. Most people they lose the entire capital in the first year of trading, because the position they have very high position size. So suppose they have a capital of 10 lakh rupees, they'll put 5 lakh rupees in one trade, okay, or maybe 3 lakh rupees in one trade. And if that goes bad, then if 2, 3 consecutive losers happen, then the entire capital goes away, right? So it's just luck that they will. It's just matter of time that when they will lose all their capital, because sooner or later there will be a series of losing trades of maybe 3, 4, 5, And even if you're putting 2 lakh rupees risk in each trade, if you have 5 consecutive losers, you will be out of the game. Right. So that is why it is very, very important that you put small money into the trade. Okay. Okay. Others parameters for this backtesting, what we have done is that we have taken an initial capital of 20 lakh rupees, sorry, 25 lakh rupees, and we have backtested it from January 2001 to March 2020. So the March 2020 fall is considered in this. The 2008 fall is considered in this. Okay. So it's a backtest of 20 years. Slippages and commissions are taken on each side is 30%, 0.3%, which is 0.6% on both the sides. Maximum open positions will be 50. So that means that we take per trade of 2% only. Okay. That will be like 50,000 for each trade if your capital is 25,000, 25 lakhs. Okay. The returns are adjusted for bonus and splits and special events. So we have adjusted the date, the price for dividends, special dividends, not regular dividends, but special dividends. We have adjusted. We adjusted the bonuses and we adjusted the splits. Okay. Regular dividends are not accounted, so maybe you will have additional 1% return because we have not seen taken the regular dividends into this back testing. The returns are compounded. So again, we are reinvesting the profits. Okay, there are no withdrawals in last 20 years. So because it becomes very difficult to do that in a back testing. So these are compounded returns because some of the trades can last for a very, very long period. And in case a stock is delisted, then we exit on the last closing price of the delisting day. So whatever is the price, so we have taken care of that. Because if the stock because there will be times when you have an open trade and the stock get delisted. It has happened to me. Okay, so I always consider that if there's a delisting, then we take exit at the last closing price of the delisting day. Okay, this will not happen. You'll have to have control, or you have to have some um, uh, information about your stock if it's there in your portfolio, that if it is delisting, you'll have to sell it off before delisting. Okay, so these are the statistics of the system which we have just talked about. So we started with 25 lakh rupees. Okay, in 20 years, it's not exactly 20 years, but say 19 years and around 9 months. Sorry, 19 years and 3 months. Okay. The ending capital is 9 crores 61 lakhs. Okay, this is understand. This is because of power of compounding. Okay, so do not get too carried away with this. Okay, this is because of power of compounding of 20 years. Okay, so 9 crores 61 lakhs is the ending capital. The net profit is 9 crores 36 lakhs. Net profit comes to 3,700 percentage. Exposure is only 60%. Okay, so exposure is that basically at points there will be that not all 50 positions will be blocked, right? There will be not 50 trades will be there. Okay, so sometimes there'll be only 20 trades, and sometimes there'll be only 5 trades, sometimes there can be 25 trades. So your capital may be idle at some point. So the exposure is 60%, which the lower the exposure it is better because you are not exposed 100%. So the price shocks which happen, okay, that will not affect much in your portfolio. The CAGR return or the annualized return is around 21%. Okay, so if we compare this with Nifty returns, buy and hold of Nifty, it is around 10 point. This is from 2001 to 2000, March 2020. Okay, so March there was a fall in Nifty also. So the Nifty return was only 10.5%, but our annualized return is around CAGR return is around double of that, or almost double of that. Okay, this suggested returns is 34%. Okay, and total cost is around 2 crores because of power of compounding, our size increases as the equity value increases. Okay, and total trades in the system is around 3,600. So generally, we need a large number of trades because of law of large numbers. Okay, so 3,600 trades is a very good number. Okay, the winning percentage is only 37%. Okay, and losing is around 63%. So as I said, trend following systems will generally have lesser lesser win percentage. But the average profit, if you see, is around 28%, and the average loser is only 6%. So here is the difference. Why we make money is because the average winner is 28% and average loser is 6%. Okay. Average bars held, these are days, number of days. So around 78 days is the average bars which are held. Okay, for the winners, and for the losers it is around 17 days. So if you see this, almost like 5 times, right? And the maximum consequent losers are 20, winners are 23 and maximum consequent losers are 33. As I said, the maximum consequent losers can at times be even 40, 45, 50 also. In this system, it's 33. But your losers only on an average only 6%. So it doesn't affect much to your overall portfolio. The maximum system drawdown is 28%. The maximum drawdown of Nifty was around 60%, which was in 2008. The drawdown is almost half of that. You can see that the returns are double of Nifty, and the return drawdown is half of Nifty. Right. Recovery factor is 3.73, which is almost twice of the Nifty. So it recovers fast. Okay, when there's a drawdown, basically it recovers quite fast. Okay, the Carter Max drawdown is 0.74. Profit factor is 1.74. Okay, anything about one is profitable. So this is 1.74. Payoff ratio is almost 3. Sharp ratio is 0.45. Okay. Average profit is around 6% of all the trades. Okay, and number of bars held of all the trades is around 39. Okay, so this we already discussed. Okay. Okay, this is the equity curve of the system. So initially, first 2 years there was nothing much. Okay, and then in 2008 it lost money and went sideways. There were no trades. Okay, then again here there's a correction. There's a correction here. There's a correction here, and in March also there was a correction. Okay. These are the maximum drawdown. The maximum drawdown was in 2008 of 28%. Recent drawdown on March was around 20%. Okay, and there have been drawdowns of 20% multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times there has been maximum drawdown of around 20%. Yeah. This is the profit table for 20 years. Okay, first 2 years were losing years. Okay, then 2003 was an extremely good year. Basically, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losing years out of these 20 years. Okay, 2020 was a profitable year because we have done up to March only. This is showing loss, but if we continue till December, it is a profitable year. Okay. This is the profit distribution. So if you see there are outliers, almost like 20 states are there which are above 200% profit. They have given 200% profits. And if you see, most of the losses are 5%. Okay, so 1160 trades out of 3700 trades have been a loss of only 5%. Okay, and then 800 trades were between 5 to 10%. Around 229 trades were around between 10% to 15%. And these are your profitable trades. So 417% trades were between 5%, 0 to 5% profit. But these outliers are those which will make money for you. These are the most important part of your system. And if you see, there's a right skew days. What is skew days and cutoffs that we'll learn in the CFD curriculum. Yeah, there are some questions. I think, yeah. So we'll answer some of the questions and then I can hand over to Joel. Okay. You have mentioned that exit criteria for your strategy, but no stop losses per trade or portfolio combined, etc. Is it fair to assume that you are not using any stop loss whatsoever in the strategy? There is a stop loss. The 5-period moving average of the lows going below the 65 moving average of the close is our trailing stop loss. If you see, it works as a trailing stop loss. When you see the chart, okay, it by itself, it's an initial stop loss as well as a trailing stop loss. If you see, okay, this blue line goes below the red line, or sorry, gray line. That is our stop loss. Okay, and if you see, let's see the clarity here. If you see here, this blue line, when it went below the gray line, this is where we exit. So this is our trailing stop loss. If you see, this works as a trailing stop loss. Again, why we have taken a five-period moving average? Okay, we have taken five-period moving average because price by itself is very erratic. It will go below, like here, it went below the moving average, so it will trigger our stop loss. Here, if you see it went below the moving average, it will trigger a stop loss. So we do not take the price as below the moving average. We take a moving average because the 5-period moving average will be smoother than the price. It will have less whipsaws. It will have less uh, uh, rad, fluctuations, right? So the moving average will go below the moving average little later. Okay, if it is a strong downtrend, then only it will go below the moving average. Okay, so it basically works as a trailing stop loss. If you see here also, as soon as the stock fell here, you got an exit, right? There was a big fall here, and you got an exit here. Okay, before that also, here also you can see the as soon as the stock till the stock is rising, we have no issues, right? If we had uh, if the price would have to go below the moving average, then we could have got multiple whipsaws here. Okay, but here if you see, we get an exit only here, right? I think that's clear, right? If buy you stock with 2% total capital and stock drops by 50%, you use only 1% of the capital. That's why no, there is a stop loss, as I said. Okay. And yes, you are right. If you're just putting 2% of your capital, even if it stops by 50%, it is just 1% of the capital. It will not hurt you that much. Okay, but there is a trailing stop loss. Okay, this is moving as confidence. I was thinking per stock per trade like 5% of the value. Okay. No, we don't need to have that. Okay, because if the price goes down, moving average will go down, right? Uh, moving average is considered of the price only. If the price goes down, moving average will come down. It's just a 5-period moving average. It will turn down very, very fast. Okay, and it will give you an exit. That is why if you see your average loss is only 6%, right? Okay, from here on, do we have any? We do have, but like here in this presentation, we are not covering that. Okay. So, Joel, are you there? Make you the co-host.
Hey, hi guys. Hi, Sohit. Sorry to interrupt. Sohit,
Hi.
how can I make you are you the host or am I the
I
host? How
am
can
the
I make you
host.
the
Yeah,
host again?
I am the host. Yeah.
Oh, you are the host, right?
Yeah, I've made Joel the co-host. I think Joel has.
Oh, there we are. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Good to see you as always, Sobit and Vivek. Such a pleasure to see your name as well because I know that therefore I am with you in spirit.
Right.
Great. Chali. So I have been part of this session from the beginning, guys. Such a pleasure to be here with all of you. My name is Joel Pandikot. I run the Asia Pacific operations for the CMT Association. And I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with Sobit and Vivek for a while now in this capacity. And Sobit and Vivek have been, I think, some of the most prominent, uh, how do I put it? Ambassadors for the discipline of technical analysis and specifically, like so it mentioned, systematic or scientific technical analysis and how that applies into the world of algorithmic trading and by extension quantitative finance and the like. So there is a lot to learn from them for all of you, right? So and today's session, the bulk of the conversation was about a trading system. And from there, I think now the time is to expand the lens and see where can you learn some of the most meaningful content or knowledge about technical analysis, and how can you possibly apply it as professionals. So we have, I think, about 15 minutes more to the session, Sovit. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So I'll be quick with a few slides that I want to share with you, but I think we will be better served by having a conversation about and Q&A after that, right? So what we can do is I'll get into the slides and we'll run through those quickly. And if you have any questions in the interim, please feel free to drop them on the chat. If I'm not able to take it then and there, I will take them by the towards the end, and then Sovit obviously also can take the same questions with me. And when it comes to the specifics of technical analysis, I think learning from Sovit, you are in very good hands. He is a CMT charter holder himself, and as such is one of the best representatives we have of what technical analysis should be at its highest levels, right? Cool. So with that in mind, are you able to see my slides? Would you like to just quickly say on chat?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
sure.
perfect. Great. So I'll move on quickly. I'll talk briefly about the Chartered Market Technician program, and before that, I'll just make a quick mention about what the CMT Association is, just so you guys know, right? Like the slide says, it is the foremost credentialing and advocacy body for the discipline of technical analysis. So there are two parts to it: credentialing and advocacy. I'll touch on both of these a little briefly. Of course, the world's foremost is the first part of it. It is the CMT Association is present. We have member presence in about 130 plus countries, and we have internationally active chapters all around the world. I take care, like I mentioned, of the Asia Pacific side of our operations, but I also support Africa and Europe as well, right? The association itself is, we say, about 50 years old, because the first formal meetings of groups of technical analysts on Wall Street started in 1969, and that then got incorporated in 1973 as what was then called the Market Technicians Association. It went through a branding exercise very recently, and now it is called the CMT Association, because in the 80s, the CMT program was created. That is the 3 levels of exams that market professionals can go through in order to, one, establish to the industry that they practice technical analysis at the highest level, and two, in order to be able to claim the prestigious CMT in a post-nominal title against their name, right? 2005 was also an important year for the CMT Association, because that was when FINRA, the US-based SEC, the SEC regulatory authority, so the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, submitted a rule saying that the CMT program levels 1 and 2 qualified for as an alternative to the Series 86 exams of that financial analysts required. So that comes to the advocacy piece, which we'll talk about a little after some time. But what you need to know that is important is that the core knowledge domains are something that the industry looks at. So every few years, the CMT Association conducts what we call a jobs analysis, and 2022 is our next jobs analysis year. And we try to understand what are the current trends within the discipline of technical analysis, within the industry, within academia and research, and that is what goes into creating the CMT curriculum, right? So this graphic is interesting, and this kind of takes forward what Sovit has been saying in this session, which is technical analysis. And this is a very interesting definition of technical analysis that I came across, which was put forward by Professor Ashwath Damodaran. Now, for those of you who have done any kind of course in finance and specifically valuations, Professor Ashwath Damodaran is known as the world's top authority on valuation specifically. And so his very interesting definition was that technical analysis helps you to understand the gap, or helps you to navigate the gap between intrinsic value and market price. And that's a very interesting thing, because you could arrive at the intrinsic value of a security, a stock or a commodity or anything, through fundamental analysis, but that would still not help you understand why the price of the security behaves the way it does. And so that is where technical analysis comes in, helping you to understand supply and demand, sentiment, and so on and so forth, right? But the CMT program itself, like I mentioned, is the top global credential in the space of technical analysis. And this is primarily for professionals. That means if you are pursuing a career where you use technical analysis to provide a service to your customers and clients, that is where your technical analysis would be relevant to you, right? There are 3 levels of exams. Each needs to be completed in sequence. Means I often get questions, can I do levels 1 and 2 together or 2 and 3 together? No, you will need to do each exam one after the other, and only one level per test administration. Test administration means when the exams are conducted. Now, typically, exams are conducted every June and December, right? This year's exams are on the from the 2nd to the 12th of June for level 1 and level 2, and level 3 will happen on the 9th of June. The general idea behind this, and the reason the professional industry, so investment professionals want to go through the program is, for one, improving investment performance, and second, improving career opportunities through ethics, education, and professional networking. So that's kind of the broad vision statement, if you might, of the CMT Association. Why do people go through the CMT designation itself? There are many reasons, but I like this infographic that was created on the basis of some research that we had done in our previous jobs analysis. But more often than not, people who complete the CMT program say that they've either gotten unsolicited contact from a recruiter, gotten more responsibility in their jobs, a new position, promotion, salaries, or bonus. This is after you become a CMT charter holder, when you get that. But what a lot of people do, and the reason they take the CMT program, is also in order to get career opportunities. We get a lot of job postings often for people who've completed level 2, level 3 of the CMT program. And obviously, as they get their charter, they do even better. What is technical analysis? I think Sovit has given you a very nice overview of it, and I'm guessing that you know a bit about this as well. But just a few definitions over here. One of them, I think one of my favorites, is Edward McGee and Bassetti, from the book of Edward McGee and Bassetti, which is the study of the action of the market itself, right? And systematic evaluation of price and volume for the purpose of price forecasting, not price prediction. That is the other thing I want to make clear. Often people also ask, what kind of careers are there? If I learn technical analysis, what kind of careers? Yeah, they'll come to your question in a moment. Yeah. What kind of careers are available if I learn technical analysis, or in which careers does technical analysis help me? So this is to give you just a top line overview kind of idea of what kind of industries technical analysis is relevant to, right? The simple definition of this would be any role that faces the markets directly. This could be the role of a trader, dealer, portfolio manager, any of these various roles, or if it faces customers directly. So the roles within the sales and kind of strategy type of space. If you are facing the markets directly, or if you're facing customers and you have to talk about the markets, technical analysis becomes relevant in order for you to be able to explain the markets either to yourself from a decision-making perspective, or to your customers from a sales perspective. So what kind of industries? Corporations. So that is all your typical corporate treasuries of large companies, for instance, the Reliances and Adanis and Tatas, etc. of the world. All of them use technical analysis to make sense of the markets in order to manage their financial risk. Banks, brokers, investment managers, obviously. And also the others include market intermediaries like the exchanges, distribution agencies. And then I would also include academic institutions, business media, the financial news media, etc., where career opportunities open up. But in the context of what we've been talking about, systematic trading, there is a whole new set of careers that's opening up as well within the world of algo trading, machine learning and artificial intelligence, system design and architecture. So you might not want to directly participate in the markets. But if you have technology skills, you can even work with market participants and build tools and systems for them. So that's also something that people look at in terms of career opportunities. The body of knowledge itself. So this was the curriculum that Souvik was mentioning. It's split into 3 levels, and this kind of body of knowledge is kind of seen worldwide as the gold standard for technical analysis knowledge anywhere in the world, right? The first level is more definitional in nature because we get people coming to the CMT program from all kinds of backgrounds. There is no entry criteria to starting with the CMT program. I must clarify that, right? We get people from art and history and poetry majors all the way up to science and engineering, and of course in between you have folks who do their courses in finance, commerce, etc. So you have literally no limitation to what your background is or what your educational qualifications are. Anyone can start with the CMT program, but that is why the level 1 of the CMT's program is kind of definitional in nature. It introduces people to what the program is about, what technical analysis is about, the basic concepts, etc. Level 2 is where it becomes interesting, because that is where you start learning the applications of all the definitions you learned in the previous level, right? So it is more application oriented. And level 3 is when it comes to what Souvik was talking about, building trading systems, building decision making and investment management systems. And that is where it starts getting incredibly interesting. And that's where, from a professional standpoint, the skills become incredibly valuable to recruiters as well. Okay. So that is a bit about the program. I'm sure all of this is available on the CMT website. So please go and read through the website as well. That's incredibly important. Incidentally, for a lot of you who I'll be happy to answer some questions now, but in case you want to kind of look up the frequently asked questions on the CMT Association website, which is cmtassociation.org or org, that's where you'll have to go to register for the program as well. You will also come across a page within the CMT program section called Policies and Procedures. It's a very nice collection of all the frequently asked questions, and you can take a look within that as well. Most questions most candidates tend to get answered there. The CMT curriculum is due for release anytime now, the 2022 curriculum, but the curriculum updates every year to varying degrees, right? So depending on what the jobs analysis comes up with, often we might vary the curriculum significantly. The curriculum today is very different from what it was in 2016, 2017. A lot of the kind of components of the curriculum have been rebalanced, but a significant weightage has been given to systematic trading. Because, and now in the meanwhile, there will probably be a question, is there coding and programming as part of the curriculum? And this is a discussion that we have internally as well. But what the CMT Association believes is that the language of programming changes from generation to generation. Now, you guys are probably young, but when I started out, BASIC, COBOL, Fortran, Pascal were the early languages. When I graduated, C, C++ were the languages of the time. And then you've seen a lot of evolution. Now you talk in terms of R, Python, JSON, etc. And then as generations change, you will see newer languages. But the first principles, the rules of the trading system that you write in the form of code, do not change much from generation to generation, right? So those first principles is where the CMT program focuses. And if you are entering the world of building algorithms yourself, then you obviously will need to layer that up with whatever the current language of the time is, right? Now, where can you purchase the curriculum? So Girish, your question was, are there opportunities outside India? Yes, a lot. In fact, India is one of our fastest growing regions in terms of number of candidates, but the CMT Association has been around for the past 50 years. Good, I'll take a few questions towards the end of it. I can see some very good questions coming in that get asked quite often, right? So to purchase the curriculum, the place to go is efficientlearning.com. Now the CMT, Wiley is our publisher. They publish the curriculum. The only official document on the Wiley website is the curriculum itself. The others are prep products created by Wiley, so they are optional for you, right? This is the only product on the Wiley portal on efficientlearning.com/CMT that is officially endorsed and created by the CMT Association. That's something for you to know. Now, the process registrations are already open, and early registration will be open till the 14th of Feb. Um, Early registration fees are about $200 lower than standard registration fees, and standard registration fees are $100 lower than late registration fees. Okay, so that's just something for you guys to know. The process is basically you enroll for the program, take your exams, and go on and kind of study from there. Yeah, and so these are the exam dates. What else? A few other things that we have also created in terms of initiatives, and this kind of comes to the advocacy side, so this slide should come later. But something for you to know is the Discord platform. go.cmtassociation.org/discord is where we've created a community where everyone can get together. Soviet is also quite active on the community, and you have a lot of other members and candidates whom you can reach out to and kind of connect with and learn and grow with as well. Apart from that, we have initiatives for business schools and universities that become part of our academic partner program, where we've created an internship challenge. There's a campus ambassador program for candidates of the CMT program, irrespective of whether you are in a university that is part of our academic partner program. You can participate in the investment challenge. That is the one in the bottom right corner. This is interesting because what we are trying to do is also to link this to career opportunities. We are speaking with firms to see if they would be interested in monitoring the investment challenge to see if they want to interview the best performers within the challenge for career opportunities. So we conducted one challenge in 2021 between the months of Feb to April, and the top 7 performers were in fact interviewed for roles of fund manager for a prop desk on the basis of just their performance in this challenge. So that's something very interesting, and so we keep trying to create such opportunities, etc., as well for our members. Coming to the advocacy piece, right? If you think about where we exist, the CMT Association, our role in this space is one, to establish that technical analysis is being practiced at the highest level, which is what the CMT program is about, and by extension, which is what the membership experience is about as well. Now, there was a question that flew past that said, what are the benefits of being a member? So one of them is, of course, that the exam fees are a bit lower than non-members. But more importantly, we organize a lot of member value related initiatives. So we focus on knowledge creation. We have chapter meetings. We have networking events. We also help our members and CMT charter holders get better career opportunities and job opportunities as well. There is no difference. A question just came up. Is there a difference between if you register on cmtassociation.org versus CMT India? There is no such thing as a CMT India. There is only cmtassociation.org, which is the parent entity, right? But yeah, coming back to what I was saying. So one part of it is ensuring that technical analysis is practiced at the highest level. And the second part of it is ensuring that the industry understands what practice at the highest level means, right? So what we do is we engage with regulators like SEBI, like FINRA that I had mentioned in the US, that has provided this exemption for folks who cleared CMT level 2. Similarly, we also have exemptions from IROC in Canada, the Nebraska Department of Banking and Finance. And similarly, we're working with the regulators. We are currently engaged with SEBI in India, with Monetary Authority of Singapore in Singapore. And we're trying to see that there is greater and greater recognition for technical analysis within the investment management process, and by extension of the value of the CMT program within this, right? We work with employers a fair bit. So there are two parts to this. The business side of any organization, that is the desk heads, the business heads, they typically may know about technical analysis, but often the gatekeepers to the process of recruitment, which is HR professionals, recruitment professionals, learning and development professionals, they might not often know what technical analysis is or where it fits into the kind of their company's workflow. So what we try to do is we kind of help them to understand this as well, so that they can create within their firms more career opportunities for folks, and they kind of recognize better people who have gone through the CMT program. That's something that we do in order to create a demand for people who are going through or have gone through the CMT program. So where there is demand, there should also be supply. So we work with business schools and universities to encourage teaching of technical analysis on campus and research of technical analysis as well. right? Apart from that, we are also working with media houses to not only create visibility opportunities for CMT chart holders. You will see more and more on business channels, whether it's your CNBC family of channels or Bloomberg Quint or Money Control, etc. You'll see off late. You'll see more and more. In fact, Money Control had done a very nice piece on Sobit as well. If you haven't done so, please go and look that up. It's a very thoughtfully done piece about Sobit's career as a trader and how he's grown. And he's also mentioned where the CMT program came in his journey, right? So apart from that, we also are trying to ensure that financial markets journalists understand technical analysis as well. Because the more they do that, the more they'll be able to give meaningful information to the general investing public. So that's kind of the idea of advocacy, talking to these key stakeholders about the value of technical analysis within the investment management process and talking about the value of the CMT charter within the world of technical analysis, right? So I hope that makes some sense. Among part of the membership experiences that we created last year were also these summits. We had created virtual summits with the top names in the world, speaking within the Americas time zone, the European time zone, and the Asia Pacific time zone. And this has happened around the world. This year as well, we'll be doing various events like that. And so this is something that we do as part of the whole membership ecosystem. Discord I had mentioned to you, and I invite all of you once again to join. Go.cmtassociation.org/discord is where you can reach out. And once you are registered in the CMT program, you also in fact get access to premium sections of the Discord platform where you can connect with other CMT charter holders, other candidates who are going through various, there are kind of level by level chat rooms, etc. We've created a nice fun space for people to get together, learn together, and network as well. So it's a very interesting space to be. So do join. Even if you're not a member, there is a kind of an open space where people can engage with us, ask questions, all of that. So you're most welcome to kind of spend some time with us here as well. So that is the end of my slides, right? And let's come to the questions. Just a moment. I'll stop sharing and we'll start taking questions. So Girish had a question. I noticed you asked a couple of times. Job opportunities outside India. So look at it this way, Girish. Technical analysis is asset class agnostic, geography agnostic, and even agnostic to whether you are trading in underlying securities or derivative securities. And so wherever there are jobs where transacting with or analyzing the financial markets exists, technical analysis exists. And in all of these, the CMT charter is viewed as the highest level of understanding of technical analysis. So like I mentioned, we have members in more than 135 countries, and job opportunities exist across all the industries that I counted out to you, across all the countries in the world. If there is a financial market in the world, in any of these countries, there are job opportunities there as well. Let me go backwards for the number of questions. Yeah, Manu has 3 questions, right? A couple of questions numbering 3. Is there any difference in registering via cmt.org and CMT India? There is no CMT India. There is only cmtassociation.org. 3 years of work experience required for the charter. You don't have due to education background. The 3 years of experience, professional experience, is compulsory, right? It is compulsory, remember, for obtaining your charter. So what a lot of candidates do is that they start off with the CMT program, they clear level 1, clear level 2, and then they use that as a qualification as well to find jobs and job opportunities. So let's say, for instance, you started off and there was another question about how much time it takes to complete the CMT program. So say you chose to register for level 1 in June, right? And let's assume you clear all 3 levels in the first attempt. You clear level 1 in June, you clear level 2 in December, and you clear level 3 in next June. So that is June 2023. If you are already working, then obviously, if you're working in investment management, that counts towards your overall experience. But if you do not have job experience at this point, you can also, once you clear level 1 or level 2, putting that on your CV does improve career opportunities. On the Discord platform, within the premium area for members, we have a jobs board as well. This comes to Sagar's question also. We get kind of inquiries for job opportunities for candidates across all levels, So sometimes employers level one, typically not, because like I mentioned, it's just understanding of the basics. But some firms don't care. They're just looking for people who are generally interested in the markets. And so if you are a candidate in the program, that itself is proof that you are interested in the markets. But typically we find firms start getting interested once you've cleared level 2 onwards, because then you have proven that you have you have interest in the financial markets, and you have some competency at least to have cleared level 2. And obviously, the more you've cleared, the better the job opportunities are. So we keep getting these job opportunities. Whenever we get them, I post them on the Discord channel. But apart from that, like I said, from the initiatives that we do, including the investment challenge, our engagement with employers, etc., we're trying to create more and more job opportunities. However, I must clarify, this is not a service offered by the CMT Association. This is part of our advocacy, right? The idea is the CMT Association is a professional community of people who practice technical analysis at the highest level. And if that is who you are, the program is right for you, and the CMT membership is right for you, right? Let me come back to Manu's questions. So yeah, I hope I've been able to answer this second question of yours, Manu, and hopefully for everyone else as well. This is a self-study journey, so any more help for prospective learners? We have created a prep providers program, and Souvik obviously is one of the leading lights within the prep space as well. So you can definitely, that's one way to get more help. But apart from that, there's a Discord platform as well. And on the Discord platform also, you have often charter holders, members, folks like Souvik, who organize sessions for the benefit of candidates. The CMT program, the way the CMT Association is, right? We are the credentialing body. We don't train for the exam. So people can learn and then come and test their knowledge against what we have set as the exam, which becomes the kind of the test to decide whether you are worthy of the credential. So the CMT Association, we ourselves, we don't train or teach for the test. That is either self-study or, of course, prep providers or people can kind of go through. Some schools, business schools and universities also conduct courses as part of their curriculum, and sometimes that becomes sufficient for people to take the exam. So there are many different ways that people choose to learn, but the association itself does not offer any classes per se, right? I hope that's clear. Let me just go back through the questions. Kostov, I've shared the link to Discord already. It is go.cmtassociation.org/discord. Right. I think I've taken those. Let me start from the top. Aditya, can the CMT be completed in the year? No. It will take a minimum of 18 months. And work, yes. So there's 3 years of work experience within investment management that is relevant. Opportunities, Girish, have answered your question. Thank you, Souvik, for posting the cmtassociation.org link. I can't answer this question, Jay, about what is the average pay or CTC. It varies dramatically. If it will make you happy to know that I know of CMT charter holders who draw more than 1 CR as well. But like I said, the range varies because in addition to the CMT, your experience, what you've been doing in the past, etc., what kind of job you're entering also makes a difference. Exam material. So like I said, the only official material that the CMT Association publishes is the curriculum. But often prep providers can create their own material as well. I know Souvik also creates some of his own original material also. So that's something that's of valuable to you. Girish answered that question again. Annual membership, is it compulsory? Fees of membership. So the fees are all on the website. Again, if you go to the policies and procedures page, you will be able to see all the fees, both for members and non-members. Let me clarify about the membership piece. So it is not compulsory to be a member of the CMT Association in order to be a candidate. However, if you choose to be a member, then the fees for the exams are lower, right? It is low enough that in fact it is more profitable to do it as a member, but then that's a decision for you to take. It's not something that we make compulsory. It used to be compulsory in the past that you had to be an affiliate member in order to take the exams, but that's not the case anymore. So there is a member fee and a non-member fee. So the two fees are listed on the website. Also within the membership section of the CMT website, you will see a table that talks about the key benefits as well, right? Is the book sufficient for cracking the level 1 exam? That depends on your learning style, to be honest. Some people find it sufficient, other people require support and coaching, training, etc. Right? So that depends on your learning style. But the book itself is basically a compilation of all the chapters from the various reference books that the CMT Association originally used to recommend. So early on, the CMT Association did not have a single book. It would just give a list of required reading. That would be about 10 to 12 different books. Then we found that obviously for our candidates, especially in developing markets, that becomes a slightly expensive proposition. And so we compiled this one book. So that book is sufficient to cover all the learning objective statements within the curriculum. That may be the best way to define that. Whether that is sufficient for a candidate to clear the exams depends on your learning styles. Yeah. Advantages of CMT membership, Sagar, like I said, on the website, you find a nice detailed table for that. Manu, your questions I've taken. Opportunities, Girish, done. Second question, Manu, I've taken that. Positive link to Discord server, that is also done. Does CMT help in job opportunities? Yeah, so the job opportunity, Sagar, the second part of your question, is required not only within the finance domain, but within investment management. That is important, right? Any offers or scholarships for registrations for graduated students? So right now there is in fact, so call it a standard offer as it were, but the early registration fee is $200 lower, like I said, than the standard registration fee. Right. Apart from that, there are no scholarships per se if you aren't a full-time student right now. Why does SEBI not recognize the CMT charter holder as it does the CFA? So CFA went global a little earlier than us and went through the same processes that we are going through right now. So it's a matter of time. And recognition is different from exemption. I just want to clarify that. So the CMT, the SEBI is on the verge of recognizing the CMT as one of their various qualifications within the list for their license requirements, but it does not offer an exemption to anyone. You still have to go through the NISM exams, right? Jay, working as a dealer for the past 5 years, that does count as experience, so you're good. Okay, Aditya, if you're clarifying, if you take June exam in June level, so if you want to be more specific about that, assuming that you already are prepared for level 1, you can take the level 1 exam in June. Results typically come within 6 to 8 weeks of the end of the exam cycle. So for instance, the December cycle ended on the 12th of December. Results are expected by early Feb, right? So if you take the exams in June, you can do June, December, June. So if you clear each of the exams, then say 2 months later by August, you should have your results. And if by then you already meet all the other criteria, then yes, potentially you could apply. That's a good point. I did not think of it that way. I did not consider that if you already are ready and you decide just one fine day, let's say in May, to take the exams, about 15 months is what you should be looking at that, right? Where can you buy study material? I showed you the Wiley website, officiallearning.com/CMT. Right? Final year engineering student. Vishwajit, to your question about getting a job, do you get a job opportunity immediately? Yes, you'll have to look for a job opportunity, and if they're willing to hire a fresher engineer who is working on their CMT program as well, that constitutes as a job opportunity. If that is, like I said, related to the field of investment management. So we do have a lot of folks, a lot of engineering grads as well, who then enter into financial services firms on the tech side, but working on products that are related to investment management. So that definitely is one way to do that. Rahul, you've been working in the IT field for almost 20 years and then you started working as a full-time trader. Your IT experience, unfortunately, not, Rahul. The experience that is required needs to pertain to investment management. And I must also clarify that trading your own portfolio does not count as professional experience, right? Professional experience is when you've been using your investment management skills to be paid by someone else for your services. So if you are managing, in addition to your own capital, if you're managing capital for others and they're paying you a fee for it, that qualifies. So that's the closest it comes to just being a trader and getting a fee for it. Or if you're working for a firm, a prop desk, etc., and they're paying you a salary as well, so that also counts as professional experience. So I hope that helps to address that part of the questions. Yep. So I have managed, I think, to cover. Yeah. So Aditya, to your question, for someone who's cleared all 3 levels, no, it's only available for a CMT, for a CFA charter holder, right? So this question pertains to the waiver for the CMT level 1. So the background is that the CFA Institute and CMT Association both were born from the same organization, that is the New York Society of Securities Analysts, in the 60s on Wall Street. And from there on, the how to put it, the associations grew separately, but obviously the two bodies of knowledge are contiguous, aligned to each other. So recently, a few years ago, we did an analysis of the CMT curriculum, vis-a-vis the CFA curriculum. And we found that across the 3 levels of the CFA, about 80% of the CMT curriculum is covered. Plus, if you have gotten the CFA charter, then that implies that you also meet all the other criteria for the CMT program. And that is why the exemption is offered only to folks who have their CFA charter. That's also part of CFA's way of ensuring that people actually get their charter as well, right? So they kind of club it in under the umbrella of member value. So it's called stacked credential, and this kind of an arrangement the CFA Institute has with the CMT Association, with Kaya, that is CAI, and these are the few that I know. There is FRM, GARP, they have some kind of relationship with, I don't know what the exact arrangement is, and with Premia as well, PRMIA, right? So that takes care of those questions. We've reached the end of questions, I think. Sobit, is there anything else you'd like me to touch on?
No,
I know I overshot for time. I'm sorry about that.
No issues.
But I hope that it's been worthwhile.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
You've answered all the questions of the participants, and to the precise point. Okay, that's great, Joel. Okay, so I'll take the screen back, Joel. Right?
You set like a deadline for time.
Yeah. So now just the last part that
to appear for the exam, you do not need any work experience. You can start off appearing for exams at any time. The best, not the best, but the youngest I find is typically, I found people who right after their class 12 exams also started preparing for the exam.
Right. So basically, we offer another.
So thank you very much. Here's some info on on Sovit's kind of offering, as it were, from Dravyaniti. So I encourage all of you to give that some serious thought as well. And if you have any other questions, Discord is where you can find us. We have a channel called Ask Queries as well. That's where you can reach out and ask questions also. But I would definitely encourage all of you to first read through the CMT website before asking questions. Typically, when anyone reaches out to me with questions, the answers to which are on the website, I make it a point to not answer questions and direct people to the CMT website, right? So the best thing to do, save some time for yourself, go and read especially through the policies and procedures page. It's a very well put together page. And then if you have any more questions, like I said, the whole community is there on Discord and happy to help. Okay?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Anything else you'd like me to touch on, or are we good?
Oh, I think you've answered all the questions, so that's good. So little bit about Dravaniti, like we offer under the prep
Not
provider.
sure we have audio. Unless, oh, I'm so
Hello,
sorry. It's my fault.
what
It
happened?
went off.
Okay, I can hear you, Joel.
Oh, good, good. I'm sorry about that. Actually, I didn't realize that I was doing all this talking and I hooked up to a Bluetooth speaker and that went off. So sorry about that.
No issues,
Okay.
no issues.
So, chaliye, that's that from me. Sovit, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joel. Thanks. Okay, so we another prep provider offer the classes for CMT. So basically, why us? We have a 14 years of experience in trading and investing. I've been coaching for almost 7 years now for the CMT. Okay, and our approach is totally systematic and objective. Okay, we have trained more than 150 CMT candidates, and we provide the study material required for including notes and sample papers, which are made by us. Okay, and we coach for all the three levels, so we do not leave you in between. Like, say if you clear level one, level two, okay, then we also give for all the three levels. It's not that only one or two levels we are doing. Okay, and the entire training is of around 80 hours, which is like 4 hours each week for around 4 months. And each concept is taught with examples. Okay. And we have coded these examples on and indicators, and we show them live, not live exactly, but we show them on charts, okay, as they discussed in the CMT program, okay, for the better explanation and understanding of the participants. Okay. You can attend the classroom in person, like we were doing it in Mumbai and Andheri East. We have an office, but because of this COVID, we have to close it down. But soon we are planning to start it again. Okay, so if we are allowed, we'll be doing offline classes as well. Online is any which way is there. So it is a hybrid mode. We do in both the modes. So even if you're out of Mumbai, then also you can attend the classes, and all the sessions are recording. So even if you miss some of the classes, you can always see the recordings, and you can see the recordings n number of times. There's no restriction on that. Okay. Full support is given till you pass the exam, so you don't need to pay the coaching fees again and again. So even if you say don't register for the exam for June, if you register for December, still you can join the June batch, and you can attend the June batch as well as the December batch. Okay, or in any case, if you do not clear in June, you can attend the December batch again without paying any additional fees. Okay, we are totally available on phone and on WhatsApp. Okay, we create a WhatsApp group where all the candidates can communicate with each other, and we provide support for the CMT sponsor, because when you clear all the three levels, we need sponsors. So we support for that, and we provide assistance for job. We do not give any job guarantee. So we, being in the industry, we do get some of the requirements for CMT. Okay, so we do pass on to the candidates which are there. Okay, and we interact with you can interact with more than 50 candidates which are applying for the same level, or even those who have appeared for level 2, level 3, and you are at level 1. So you can communicate with other candidates also who are applying for level 2, level 3, and who have been chartered holders also uh, from our this institute. Okay, so the online batch starts from 15th January. We are doing starting with online, and we'll try to shift as soon as possible to offline in the hybrid mode as soon as this Omicron settles down. Okay, and it will be on every Saturdays from 3 to 7 p.m. More details you can download from the Viniti.com website. Here's the link. The training fees for this is 35,000 plus GST for level 1. Okay, if you register by tomorrow, if you make the full payment by tomorrow, then you get an early bird discount of 10%. You can use the promo code CMT1, CMT10 on the link which is provided here. I can put this link on the this thing on the chat box. And if anybody, you can directly get a 10% discount by putting the code CMT10. So you can use the CMT10 code and immediately, and it is there only for 2 days. Okay, so you can directly register there. Any other question if you have, then we are happy to answer that.